Hey, homeschool mamas, happy Mother's Day. Reminder, the giveaway is available for you to share with 3 friends so that you can enter as a ballot to win for Mother's Day. And welcome. I hope that you have your teacup filled. Mine's filled with bubbly. Today I'm going to be inviting Kristin Mercer to join us, and I'm going to ask her to step up to the live. Let's see if I can see. Yes, beautiful. It's the first time because the Minecraft server that my son had downloaded to my or uploaded to my computer crashed everything.
How are you?
Hey, Kristin, nice to see you. Good. It's been a day, but it's beautiful outside. Let me just back up so you can see more than just this. Hey, what a perfect day to talk about self-care strategies. Okay, first of all, I should be outside. The self-care strategy number 1 is to spend a lot of time in nature. But before we get started, I'm so curious if you would introduce yourself
Of
to
course.
that
Yeah, my
don't
name is
know you
Kristin
already.
Mercer, and I am a homeschool mom of 3, ages 11, 9, and 6. We've been homeschooling for 5, 6 years, depending on if you count, the early years. And I'm a Young Living essential oils representative. I love sharing health and wellness and just tips and tricks that help in our home in homeschooling.
Thank you for being here. And people can listen to more of your story on my podcast. But what would you say? Okay, I won't jump. I want to ask you right away, essential oils, because even before we were chatting, I made sure to put something. It's not from Young Living, but it's something that my daughter brought me back from Toronto, and it's a pink grapefruit lotion. And that is just something about grapefruit just enlivens and energizes for me. One of my sense. But before I do that, can I ask you what brought you to homeschooling? I think
That's
you're
correct.
classical homeschooling
Yeah,
right now.
yep.
Is that
So
right?
we lived in Virginia when we started homeschooling. And in our particular area, you would send your 5-year-old off on a bus at 8 and they would come home at 4, 4 o'clock. And I just couldn't wrap my mind
Yeah.
around sending my not perfect, but my beautiful little child off for that many hours in a day. And so my husband and I decided we would just try it for 1 year and just kind of get her through kindergarten. And then we'd reevaluate and kind of every year it just worked. It worked for us to keep her home. And then, number 2 came along and it worked for us to keep them both home. And it just turned into a really beautiful thing for us. So.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, because I actually remember putting my child on the bus and she went kindergarten full day. And I remember waking up my baby and bringing my toddler and just wrapping them all up in winter. And it was just so much effort. And especially, even though I did genuinely love the teacher, but there was so little actual content that my oldest was learning that I thought,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's why you
Yeah.
actually figured that out
I
before
mean,
you
I think
got
some of it
started.
was just a nervousness on my part of not knowing what was happening and who was going to be with her. And, she just seemed so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Smart, because the first day of my oldest daughter's kindergarten, I just cried
Oh,
in the corner. Mom in
yeah.
the corner crying. Yeah. So tell me, the last 5 or 6 years, what have you been learning about, or really just this year alone, what have you been
Yeah, it's
learning
been a
about
really good year.
homeschooling?
So this is our second year doing classical conversations. Just in terms of the flow, it's been a really good year. Being the second year into the curriculum and the program has made a big difference for me and feeling more comfortable with the rhythm of it. This is a really simple thing too, but my youngest has a speech therapy through the local schools. They actually send someone to us, which is a huge blessing. And this year it got put midday as opposed to the morning, and I thought I would be upset about it, but it has been a huge blessing because we're able to start our day right at 9. All of my kids are ready to go. We get all of our schoolwork done, and there's no interruptions in the morning. And then as soon as we're done, then he has the speech therapy, and then we're off to do whatever adventure we have set for the afternoon. So it's been really slow.
Really
Yeah,
stop. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, we'll take
Nice.
it.
You got your flow. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. And what about you? What are you learning about yourself
Yeah,
in the last year?
I think learning to be brave, to just try things even though I'm not I'm not sure I'm going to be great at them. So we have a very young homeschool group at our co-op, and the oldest kids are right now ready to go into a middle school program. And so I volunteered to direct that program next year. Yeah. So this is really big for me because I like to assist. I'm not always like the lead, director, but I'm actually really excited about it. Like the content and the students, and it's gonna be really good. So I think for me, just learning to try something new and to be brave, and then it's like good to be excited about it. So yeah.
Yeah, that is good. I somebody else say that she helped to start a homeschool co-op and then realized what she did because she doesn't teaching. So she volunteered to hold babies. Whatever role, I would take that role. I would take that role. I would hold the babies,
Yeah.
not keep the babies. You've learned that about yourself this year. I'm glad. Be brave. Excellent. That's really good. So, something that I have as a conversation with moms is to always, if you're wanting to really get clear on your unrealistic expectations or get clear why you're feeling not good enough in some area of your homeschool, to actually identify your values. And whether that's 1 to 3 values, doesn't matter how many, but really just to ask yourself, what is the reason you're doing it? And what's the reason that, or what are the values that you want to infuse in your home? And then ask yourself, is that actually happening? Are you aligning the values with what you're doing? So I'm curious, are you able to share one
Sure, yeah.
or a few
Of
values
course,
that you have in
one
your
thing
home?
that we've really stressed since we were little, since our kids were little, was really working with them on the value of truth telling. And that's for me too, to not say, oh, no, I'm just having water when I'm really having lemonade. Or, you know what I mean? Those little tiny, tiny things that can turn into big things. So teaching us through our actions, but also expecting our children to be truth tellers. So our last name is Mercer. So I often remind them the Mercers are truth tellers. Like we tell the truth. We want to know honesty. We appreciate honesty. And that like baseline for integrity, it's great. It's good for my husband and I, to do the best that we can to be honest with our children, but also for them to understand that that's expected in our home and in our family. And it's been a good lesson for all of us just to constantly come back to that. The Mercers are truth tellers, and we're going to do the best that we can to be honest and have the integrity that that we expect in our family. So
Yeah. And finding, first of all, I think finding the values and actually clarifying what you really want for you, for your family, also in your homeschool, but helps you to, frankly, it's kind of tricky in the beginning. And I also think it's fluid in that it can change what you think, and what you think is most important can shift or clarify, but having something as a place of jumping off instead of just going with the flow of whatever activities everyone
yeah.
around you has, which is really
Yeah, another one that just comes to mind real quickly too that we've been talking about a lot lately is trying to be inclusive. Like it's very important to me. I've been in places before where I felt excluded or not welcome, and so doing the best that I can to
right.
model that for my children when we are at co-op, sitting with a family that maybe doesn't have anyone sitting with them, or and really just have had a lot of conversations in the last couple of months with my older two in particular of this is why we do this and this is important. That child is alone over there and that you welcome them into. There's no clicks. Like we do the best that we can to just to model that for them, but also for them to see the value in it because they've all felt, out in like
Oh, yeah,
so.
yeah.
Uh,
I'll actually be talking with Melissa from Pocket Homeschool next
yeah.
Monday about reading community. And I know for me, I was surprised that there wasn't just a place to show up on Tuesday, say, or a certain day of the week, and that all the homeschoolers in the area would be there and welcoming with open arms. And everywhere we lived, it wasn't always like that. And so that meant you had to create your own community. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, and this was just like you were speaking, that I had to actually see people in a different way to identify that sometimes the people that are around me all the time aren't necessarily people that I would necessarily have chosen. And maybe there's certain parts of, the way they see the world isn't exactly like mine. The way they homeschool isn't just like my kids, or how, and yet that in itself, it became like a learning opportunity, seeing the world through someone else's eyes, and also was a really cool way to
Yeah.
be more, like you said, inclusive in community. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious, I asked in a letter to all the moms, but what makes you especially unique
Yeah,
as a
that's a
homeschool mom?
hard one. um, I mean, I love it. I am challenged by it. I think I mean, we talked to in one of your questions about like what is something that we do as a family, and I think for me, there's value in experiencing adventure, and that comes in my like 12 to 15 years of traveling internationally and all of that, of just really wanting my kids to see the world through different eyes. And we're able to do that in homeschooling. We're able to have flexibility with travel. We're able to get out there. They're able to hear about my travels because we're talking about, you know, a certain area of the world. And I say, hey, I've been there. Let's talk about that. Let's look through pictures. And so that's something that whether it's just exploring around our little area here in New York, or if it's exploring more broadly, you know, taking them abroad or into other states or whatnot. I think that that's something that is valuable to me, and hopefully they see that value in me as well.
Yeah, beautiful. So is there one place
I
that you
mean,
really loved
so
when you
many,
went
right?
somewhere?
I taught English in Chile, and so I would love to bring them back to Chile and just have them see the people and the places, and you know, I think they would see me in a different light too. You know, when you're in a different context, there's a whole different part of your personality that comes out. So I
That would be fun. So do
do,
you know
yeah. It's
Spanish by
a little
chance?
rusty, but but yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that is definitely on my bucket list, is discovering really anywhere South America beyond Mexico, which is not South America,
Good
I'm aware.
clarification there. Yeah.
Yeah, Africa is not one country, but I always did that because I've been a couple times. But the topic that we were going to discuss is self-care, which not coincidentally is the name of my account. And for those that haven't met me, I'm Teresa from the Homeschool Mama Self-Care account. And for me, I started this account the summer, I think it was the summer after I wrote my book about self-care for homeschool moms. And that originated in my own story of overwhelm, as I was sharing with another mom this morning. And so you actually, I don't remember how I came across you. I just know it was on Instagram. And I saw some things about essential oils. I saw that you were a homeschool mom engaged in that world. And I thought, this is an area I've never discovered. I've really not gone down that path, and I'm curious what's it like to include it. And you have introduced me to all sorts of ideas on what I can include, even for my homeschool child, waking up in the morning and getting them motivated for the school day. So I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on what self-care
Yeah,
strategies we can
absolutely.
include.
Self-care for moms, I would say for me, top things are using essential oils for emotional support. If I'm feeling like a little flustered or I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, you know, with the children or whatnot, getting, like you talked about grapefruit, getting a citrus blend in my diffuser makes a huge difference in my mood. So I see that as self-care, as something that like gives me a little like pickup and like changes my mentality and my attitude and kind of stops me for a second to be able to make that shift. Self-care in terms of just kind of not pampering, but allowing myself to have a few moments alone. I've started just in the last 6 months, 8 months, trying to take a bath like once or twice a week. I should also, but
Oh,
but trying to take like just a self-care bath and putting in bath salts with a scent that is restful, or you know, something that feels like a luxury to me. Yeah,
like
yeah. So that's been, I think, one way for me to just to take the time out to think and breathe and read or whatever it is, you know.
that is really, yeah, I really like that one. I remember in the beginning years, I remember because it's not my experience anymore, that in the beginning years, it was so hard to find just even little pockets of time away. And when somebody would say to have alone time or quiet time, I would think, hilarious. Not possible. Even in the morning, sometimes you'd roll out of bed with a child. And so it seemed almost impossible to have that alone time. And I do recall one mom telling me that she didn't need alone time. And I was in awe. This is only one time that I've heard that, but otherwise I find we tend to do things like going to the grocery store alone, or, you know, taking the kids for nature walks, which are totally cool. But sometimes I think we just need to actually be fully alone. No kids.
And no
Yeah.
phone too, right?
Really.
That's I bring my phone a lot,
Sure.
you know, if I'm alone, you know, in a few minutes in the bathroom or whatever. But yeah, I think that's something that's hard for me, is to, you know, because we do our business a lot on the phone, is to like set the phone down and take time to walk without it, and, you know, take a walk around the block and like just breathe for a few minutes and allow your mind to process and think, and pray and question, you know, what's going on today? Why did this affect me the way it did, or whatnot? So, yeah.
Yeah. We talk about screen time a lot, actually, with kids, not with us. Yeah. Okay, the truth is, I'm working on it for myself. I am not easily accessible all the time on my phone, because I actually don't want to be on my phone, because I'm on it in a work context, you know, always engaging other homeschool moms. So then I'm like, nah, that's not my biggest challenge. But when it was in my earliest days, I remember being on Facebook all the time and realizing I needed to put it in another room, just another room with when I'm with the kids. Yeah. Yeah. So do you have other ideas?
Yeah, I mean, for
Self-care
me,
strategies?
as far as oils and incorporating them in my life, I mean, we had talked a little bit about this one earlier, the stress away oil, you know, making rollers with it, just getting them on and in. I make rollers all the time, whether it's for emotional support or for allergies or for, I mean, all sorts of things. I use them. And so having those handy, I keep one in my pocket so that I always have it accessible, or in my purse. Uh, yeah.
Used to do is a little scratch and sniff. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's
yeah.
just literally like taking a drop and putting it in my hand and smelling it. It is amazing how how powerful the scent of smell is. It teaches you the other
And
don't.
specific, yeah, they're
Absolutely.
powerful
Yeah.
essential
Yes.
oils. Yeah, they really are. I know when I was not feeling well, I told you this, but I was choosing a couple, and I don't remember which one it was, but a couple of different digitized, that's what it was, the essential oil, and it was powerful to open up all of my airways. Yeah, really good stuff. And then what's the one that you put on the back of your kids' heads before you
There's a
start the
couple of
school
them
day?
that are really good. They have Genius is a kids oil that I love, just helping on the back of their neck to help them focus. Peppermint is really great in the diffuser. We do that a lot to help them wake up, but also it's great for focus. Rosemary is another one that's really great for focus too. So I think you ended up getting the starter bundle, right? With the and there's 12 oils in there, which is awesome, because it kind of gives you like an oil for every system in your body. So if I have a mom who's ordered a starter bundle, and she can come to me and say, oh my goodness, I need an oil for a headache, or I need an oil for digestion, or I need an oil for stress, I'm so stressed out, you know, or for sleep. And then I can say, oh, look, pull this one out of your kit, pull that one out of your kit, try this, try that. And there's ways to use them, right?
Yeah.
And so as long as they have that starter bundle, then they can come to me and I can say, here's a couple of things for you to try. See if they help.
You know, the piano way, I think I'm saying that right. In the diffusers whenever I'm, probably by Saturday afternoon, on my cleaning days.
Yeah, that's
and
wonderful.
it's amazing. Yeah. And the thieves spray, that I love. Like, I don't know, all the things that you could access through Young Living essential oils is the cleaning spray.
Yeah, it's amazing. And we clean with too, and so I don't have to worry about my kids with any kind of synthetic or chemical or anything that's toxic, because it's wholly plant-based, and you look at the research on it and it cleans better than a lot of things people get from the store, like Oils are powerful.
Absolutely.
They're doing a good job of breaking down bacteria and really doing the work of cleaning. So it's all we use in our house. Yeah.
Yeah, ditto. So that's the thing that you can, you can pretty much put it in your diffuser, I think, and also use it as a cleaning product, which tells you
Yeah,
a lot about this
absolutely.
cleaning
Yeah, for sure.
product.
The thieves
Yeah,
oil, that is the basis of the cleaner. You can actually make a tea with it, which is super lovely. You just put 1 drop of the oil in honey and mix it in and put it in hot water. It is so good for immune support, helping your immune system. So there's lots of uses.
lots of uses, and you can find them on my Homeschool Mama spa page on my website, capturingthecharmlife.com. But before I close, because I know your kiddos are going to come in, a few quick questions about Mother's Day. What would you say your favorite Mother's Day
That's a good
treat
question.
is?
So in terms of, I hear treat and I think dessert. So if you're thinking like a dessert or like a food item, my daughter loves to cook. She absolutely loves to like be in the kitchen baking, and she has a carrot cake recipe that is like divine. It's wonderful. So she could make that like for every celebration for me throughout the year, and I'd be happy. It's such a treat.
Yeah. What kind of activity would you do with your kids
Mhm.
or without your kids on
It's
Mother's Day?
strange to think of not being with my kids on Mother's Day, but if I was forced, to take an hour or two away, I would.
Or they up and move away, as is
Oh, yeah.
my.
I'd be in a coffee shop reading a book. Like, give me a good, unique coffee shop and a good book, and I'll spend a couple hours there. That sounds wonderful. Um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
perfect place. You used to be, no, you still are a
I
barista. So
mean,
do you have a
I
specific
just
coffee
like a
that you
plain
love?
latte, honestly. Just regular milk and little espresso in there, and I'm good to go.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm a cappuccino, so we're taking it up just a wee bit more of an effort, but just a little bit. So the gift that you should or could give yourself, whether you will or not, do you have one that you'd like to
Yeah.
imagine that you would
I
get?
mean, that's exactly what I thought of was just a couple of hours, little break, like a little break with a good cup of coffee and a book. Now, if you're thinking
Yeah,
like big scale, I would take my kids on a long vacation. We would go to Europe. That's like the dream for a couple of years down the road is to get us all over to Italy and just do some traveling over there. So, yeah.
100%. I would be a homeschool helper.
You're hired. Sounds good.
I love it. Such a pleasure to chat with you, and thank you for sharing all of your thoughts. Where can we find you besides obviously your Instagram
Yeah, of
channel and
course.
Mercentials right here?
Mercentials is probably the best place to find me. On Facebook, I'm just Kristin Mercer, and I have a lot of people in there that I add into a Facebook education group all about essential oils. So you can send me a message here on Instagram, and I will hook you up with the Facebook education group.
Thank you
You
for
too. You have
being here, and
a good
happy
Mother's
Mother's
Day.
Day,
Thanks, Teresa.
Kristin.